How are you going?
Good. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm here with Matt Barrie, the extraordinary businessman and presenter. Matt, if they want to follow you, where do they go?
I guess Twitter. I'm Matt_Barrie, BARRIE on Twitter is probably the best way.
Righto. Great. Because I follow you and I just find it fantastic. But, Matt, how do you see the whole situation at the moment, especially misinformation, disinformation, or the government's position today on telling our kids they can't have social media till they're 16?
Well, I mean, I think someone said it best on Twitter when they said if Albanese wants to, lose the election and pack up and go to Copacabana, can he resign now and save us all the problems and troubles of bring the country into disrepair? I mean, I just can't understand why he thinks this is a good thing to do. I mean, it's literally Orwellian, and it's pretty much the definition of fascism, right? I mean, it's the government basically deciding what you can and cannot say on the internet, which is pretty bizarre. And now they've come out and said that they want to stop. They're going to ban anyone under the age of 16 from using social media. And by the way, that they've clarified that to say that also includes YouTube. So I know a lot of my friends with kids use YouTube to play Peppa Pig to their kids, and there's a lot of teenagers that use it to kind of watch videos around educational stuff for school and so forth. But now apparently that's captured, and it's completely mental. As we've seen over the last few years, there's been a pretty intense, I don't know, I want a better word, mind virus. I think it's captured, some parts, particularly of the Australian government, in terms of just the sheer amount of propaganda that seems to be coming out. And so, I mean, this bill, in my mind, is not really a bill protecting anyone. It's not a bill that has any votes behind it. I mean, nobody wants to basically be forced to upload their license to use the internet, which is basically what this is. Because I mean, the only way you can stop 16-year-old kids or less to use the internet is you're going to have to upload your ID to every platform on the internet where you're chatting away or you're watching videos or whatever it may be. And so really, this is by stealth a way of introducing a national ID card, and it's also a way of ensuring that, having a path to removing anonymity away from the discourse and free speech on the internet, and forcing people to identify themselves and being able to arrest you if you say something that isn't liked or a topic that isn't liked.
Or threaten you with a fine.
Well, in the UK, you've seen what's happened. If you retweet something, it can throw you in jail for a couple of years. And I think just recently they've just shown that people have been thrown in jail for things that actually were true, that the government was pretending were not true, and it's subsequently come out through a series of things. So
have a set of bureaucrats as well, oversighting what Matt Barrie might be saying about housing on the internet.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because it's not just, it literally is. It literally, in the bill, you can't say anything negative. Potentially, I've actually got a copy of the page. I printed it out because I thought I was actually flabbergasted by actually the content in here. I wasn't actually aware of what was in here, but it says the meaning of serious harm, right? Which is really the definition for being able to throw you in jail for saying something, on Twitter or YouTube or anywhere else, is any harm to the operation or integrity of a Commonwealth, state, territorial, local government electoral or referendum process, which means during an election, if you say anything potentially that's not liked by any of the parties, you can potentially be in trouble. If you say anything that harms public health in Australia, including the efficacy of preventative health measures. Well, as we know, during COVID, there was a lot of government propaganda around the efficacy of ivermectin, for example, and the vaccines and so forth. And if you discuss that, and that the government doesn't like the certain things that you're saying, because you're actually using your own brain and reading the academic papers as they come out and the research studies, and it doesn't go along with the official line, they can throw you in jail. Vilification of any group, and it goes a big long list here of race, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, intersex, disability, national, ethnic, blah, 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 or vilification of an individual because of a belief that the individual is a member of such a group, even if they're not a member of such a group, they just believe they're a member of such a group. And then it's got down here, or you say something that might imminently harm the Australian economy, including harm to public confidence in the banking system or financial market. So literally, it means if you say something negative about the housing market, because the Australian economy is completely dependent on the housing market, you could be thrown in jail. or fined, or the platform that you're speaking on could be fined. And of course, they'll use that as a death by 1,000 cuts to go after X, because there's free speech on X, and governments don't. Well, many governments around don't like it. Obviously, there's been a big change in the US now, and they love it. Freedom, because freedom of speech is inherent to democracy. You've got to be able to say things that
In fact, they put down Trump's win to his ability to get the message out on the internet.
Exactly, because all the channels, all the traditional channels which were controlled for distribution of propaganda, kind of had a problem when you had a free speech platform out there, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, who's going to determine all of that? And then the other section says misinformation is content that is reasonably verifiable as false, misleading, or deceptive. Well, who's going to determine that? Because as we saw with COVID and the efficacy of the mRNA vaccines and so forth, that took a long time to figure out. And I think the Australian government, the TGA, still have a certain opinion which conflicts with what I think the evolving thing that's happening in terms of science and scientific publishing on the matter. And the content is provided in a digital service to one or more users. So, and it's likely to cause serious harm, which is that list over there. So if you go out there and you basically say, I think the Australian housing market is overpriced, they would just say, well, that's potentially serious harm to the economy, and you've distributed. Well, they say it's a serious harm to the economy or the banks, and as a result of that, we'll throw you in jail for a couple of years.
And one other aspect to it, Matt, would be that anybody who was threatened with a major fine, be it the provider of the information or the platform that's put out on, they would become very, very, very conservative in what they allowed to go on their platform, wouldn't they?
I mean, this will be used as a weapon just to shut down the platforms they don't like. Basically, it'd be a death of 1,000 cuts. They'll be going in there and just fine after fine after fine, and using effectively lawfare to shut down any platform they don't like.
Yeah. Have you got any colleagues in the business world that understand what you're saying and supporting you?
I don't think anybody is supportive of these bills. I don't know if a single person or a single business leader that I'm aware of that's supportive of these bills. They're completely draconian. And in fact, I mean, what should be happening is the Liberal Party should be getting up and saying, well, we want to introduce a Bill of Rights for freedom of speech in Australia, and we'll go to the election on that, and we promise we will repeal this if it does come through. And they would win in a landslide if they did that.
Absolutely. Matt, if you had to say something to the Prime Minister today, what would you say?
I don't know what you're doing. Like, literally, I have absolutely no clue what you're doing. It just seems to be the actions of someone who's just is very, very weak-willed, that they want to control the narrative on the internet. They want to force all Australians to effectively upload their ID to use the internet, because that's what's going to be required. I can't see any other way to police this. And who knows where it will go in the future? Maybe they'll require you to get a license to surf the internet, like they do in the UK for watching TV. You have to go and pay an annual fee potentially to get your license upheld. Who knows where this is going to go? But it's absolutely ridiculous that the government should be in there determining what we can or cannot say on the internet, and taking away the rights of parents to be able to to be a parent and decide what their kids can watch on YouTube or can't watch on YouTube. It's ridiculous.
It's called co-parenting with the government, I would think, Matt.
It's actually a bit worse than that, actually.
Yeah,
it's abrogating the rights of the parents to basically parent their children. So,
Matt Barrie, you've given us your precious time. Thank you so much. We love the work that you do. I follow you with Ed down in the US as well, who does a great job. So thank you so much, and all the best to you.
Thanks, Russell.